And we're back. Whew, best break ever, I think.
Yeah.
We went on a short, socially distant walk. Came back again.
Yeah.
Incredible. JB, here's the best part coming up with the questions.
Okay.
Nice, easy one for you. What's your top hobby tip? What are your top hobby tips for the haters out there?
Right. So my top hobby tip would probably be, and I think this was mentioned before, but it's worth stating again, to have like things prepared and ready so you can just pick it up and work on it and then put it away. Because you're not always going to have the luxury of being able to do long stretches of hobbying.
Yeah.
And I think that the fear that you won't be able to sit down for an hour or 2 hours at a time to work on something will stop you from doing it at all.
Yeah.
And so the best thing to do is to have like a tray or something else set up, or a cupboard where you just have everything ready.
Yeah.
So if you find you have half an hour on your hands to get some stuff up and do a little bit of work on something and to build that into some sort of a routine.
Yeah.
That would probably be my primary tip. I would also throw in to have an idea for like how you want to block out colors when you're painting, to have that ready.
Yeah.
So that you can quickly block out colors. So if you don't really find you have a lot of time to do anything else, you can knock out the boring part of painting, which is laying down base colors, and just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And that'll also make projects less daunting, I find.
If I know I've got a little project coming up, I'll actually get a Ziploc bag and I'll get the colours I'm going to be using for those models and just put them in the bag.
Yeah.
Ready. So and I've mentioned this before, if you watch Shay, you know Strangers, I have a cupboard with a tray, and on that tray is the project I'm currently working on.
Yeah.
So the paints I'm going to be using for that project are there in the bag. So I'm not having to go, I had a bronzed flesh or I had a bleached bone, or I'm using the old colours here.
Yeah. No, but it's true. Just have things ready and accessible. And remember that you don't have to finish a project every time you're hobbying. It's a process. It's fine to do a little bit of work often rather than doing a lot of work in one go.
Several years ago, I started work on my partisans.
Yeah.
Bot action. My Polish Yorkshire mush partisans. And each one had to be different because they weren't in uniform. So I didn't sit down and pick up one model and paint him all different and pick another one up. I had a whole bucket of colours, and I would do one colour, and he'll have the hat that colour, have some trousers this colour, and then I'd keep dipping. And it took me weeks. I didn't do it in one go. I just bring them out, do a colour on a few models, chuck them away, and for ages I was like, oh, am I ever going to get this finished? And then one day they were just all done. Done. And that was the best way to do it. If I tried to paint each one of those models differently, individually, it would have broke my spirit. But it was just like, break it into manageable chunks.
Yeah, and also, like I said before, remember that like a project has many stages of done. So whereas you might want to at some point have each little model be individualized or whatever, if you know that trying to do that is going to ultimately break your spirit and break your motivation, you'll get burnt out doing it. It is better to try to get it to a stage where you're happy with it for now, and then can go and work on it a little bit over a period of time. Like, you're ultimately doing this to make yourself happy.
Yeah.
And so if your hobbying is making you miserable, you need to be like looking at what you're doing and trying to get back to the core of what it is you love about this.
Yeah. Because I think for me, the painting and hobby, I spend much longer painting the models than I ever do playing.
Yeah, I think most of us do. Like the playing the game is kind of the reward in a way for the painting for me. Is that I hate painting. I hate playing models that aren't painted. It just makes me feel bad. Like, because I enjoy, again, the narrative of the story.
Yeah.
And so unpainted models break the immersion for me.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, so I avoid doing that. So for me, like, I paint the models so that I can play them. I still enjoy the painting,
Yeah.
but I need both parts of it to motivate me. But at the same time, I try to be honest with myself with what I'm doing and kind of going, is my idea a little bit too lofty? Should I worry about this now? And if the answer is no, then I
Yeah.
set the bar slightly lower, and with the idea that I can always come back to this.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Um, yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed painting. The actual process of taking some time to myself and having a moment of peace to like just try and clear my mind and do the painting, put
Yeah.
music on, podcast, something. I think it's very good for my mental health to do that. And other times I'm there going, I hate this, and I'm not so sure it is that good for my mental health. But
Yeah, no, it's for me. It's mostly meditative, and then very occasionally when it just isn't working, it's less so, and that's the point where I go. I, Normally, I would enjoy this, but I'm not enjoying it right now, so I'm just gonna put this away. Just gonna put it away.
yeah, because I'll get models out. I'll be like, I want to get this done. And I'm like, I am not feeling this.
No,
Don't try and make yourself.
no, it is fine. Again, you are supposed to enjoy this. If you are not enjoying it, just take a step back and recenter yourself and try to figure out like what
And
would make you enjoy this more.
another top tip
Yeah.
that I never follow. It's gone to midnight. You should really go to bed, but you haven't based them maybe, or you're like, I finished this stage, but there's another stage I'd like to do. Just save that for tomorrow.
Yeah,
Don't
that's fine.
do it in the morning and then be shattered the next day. I've done that so many. I'm like,
I was about to say that's a
do the bases. I'll do them now. I'm just so infused, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning. No.
yeah. I was gonna say that's a great tip. Really smart. Wish I follow that at any point.
Totally. I never. I'm always like, no. While I've got the mojo and I'm here, I'm just gonna keep going till I get to the end. Till I can't stop myself. Physically, I'm like, no.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, a huge motivation for me when I paint is deadlines. Like I need a deadline of some sort, and it's either that I have a game planned down at the club on this date, and I need to have these models ready by then, or else I'm not going to be able to play.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to an event, I need to have this army done by this time to this standard. And unfortunately, that can lead to the now classic. I said it before that if you haven't been up until like sunrise the night before an event, desperately trying to finish that army.
Yeah, I haven't lived. I've always been good enough to get my stuff finished beforehand. But I've had a few repair jobs in the morning. Like,
Yeah,
I was all exploded in my figure case today of all days.
yeah. No, I have had many mornings sitting in a hotel room, desperately putting sand on bases.
There you are, folks. True story. What's your best hobby tool, JB?
For me, is probably going to be all the various forms of kind of kneadite epoxy. So milliput and green stuff,
Yeah.
all that kind of. It is useful for gapping. If there's like seams in the model that you're not happy with, can quickly sort that out. It's essential for converting models.
Yeah.
It's really good for like kit bashing models or for scratch building models. It's just there is pretty much no project where I haven't involved some form of like two-part epoxy.
Yeah, no, it could be really good for just joining together. If you're doing a conversion and you're bringing two bits together,
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
you can make a whole piece of something. If you're really good at green stuff. I mean, it's the stuff they used to sculpt. Well, they used to before they became just computer things to sculpt the models. So
Yeah.
it can be valuable as a tool. It's a
Yeah.
good one.
I mean, if you are on a budget, speaking of someone who does not have a lot of money, if you are on a budget and you want to get a project going, um, if you have the creativity and you're willing to kind of learn how to work with the materials, you can absolutely make models using bits of sprue from your 40K or Age of Sigmar kits, glued to it to become essentially like a little skeleton, and then sculpting over that with green stuff or milliput. I have made multiple models like that.
There is the legend of the guy who made an entire Necron army out of sprue.
Yeah, which is like so this might be a controversial opinion, but I remember seeing that and everyone losing their minds over it, and I kind of went, I mean, it's just a bunch of plastic, though. Like I am sure that took time and a lot of creativity to do it, but to me, it just doesn't look very nice.
It didn't look good, but I did kind of applaud the fact that you could technically take it to Games Workshop head office because it is GW sprue.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is. Like it's a novelty to a novelty to me, but I'm not super impressed by the creativity.
The product wasn't.
But the idea there that you can use these pieces of plastic that you would just throw in the bin and repurpose them into something else.
Oh yeah.
That is absolutely legit. Like if you have bits of sprue around, a knife and some creativity, you can definitely make that into something.
And you can even buy people sell the armatures. They're like the little for people who want to sculpt models. You can go and buy the little skeletons out of in white metal to make you. If you don't want to use sprue to make it, you can actually get someone who's actually made them the right proportions already for sculpting away. I think it's a hassle-free or someone that does them. I can't remember. I've never ordered.
Yeah, there's plenty of different sources, but like even if you just don't feel like spending a lot of money, if you have access to milliput, which is really quite cheap, and you get a lot out of it, and then just whatever you can use to make sort of a foundation to work off of. Yeah, you can save a lot of money and also create something that is completely unique.
Yeah. Fair play. What's your motivational tips, JB? How do you keep motivated?
Gaming wise, I mentioned it before. My main source of motivation is deadlines.
Yeah.
And that I have certain principles that I work by. The primary one being I do not play unpainted models. And so because of that, if I want to play something, I have to paint it. And that's how I keep myself motivated. And that has led to, I think the stereotype of me at tournaments is that I'm always tired because I haven't slept the night before because I've been desperately trying to finish something.
Yeah. Why does JB always smell of paint at tournaments?
Yeah, well, there's that. No, but it is because I need to have that as a motivation. So when there isn't a deadline, I find myself struggling to get motivated. Because again, I need that social contract to have a reason to kind of work on it as quickly as I would otherwise. So now, before when I was playing very actively in tournaments, I would be able to finish an Infinity Army in like less than a month. But now I'm painting like a model every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, something like that. Like I'm finding it a struggle now that there's not no reason to paint, but there's no reason to do it quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, my main thing to stay motivated is to set rules for yourself for like how you're going to operate, like principles, how you're going to operate, and then sticking to them.
Yeah.
And find deadlines. Find a time where something needs to get done.
Because I don't. I mean, I have deadlines for. I go to the odd tournament now and then, but for me, the way that I motivate myself wasn't through deadlines. It was through. It was a kind of a deadline because I did when I was doing my piles project, Andy's massive piles. It was every week I had to have something painted to show that I was working my way through these models to show that I was, because I said before that on another show that I'm very willing to let myself down, but I don't want to let anyone else down. So
no, exactly.
Yeah. So, but I'm now trying to get as much done as I can before the end of lockdown. so I can get all my models I have in the house done by lockdown. I'll be like,
Yeah.
that's looking more and more achievable every day. Unfortunately.
It's funny we're stuck inside. Send help. Yeah. No, I kind of feel the same way. My plan for my current Yu-Ching Force that I mentioned for Infinity was to have them done by the time the new edition dropped.
Yeah.
So that I could start using them straight away. And now, I mean,
who knows?
I guess I'll still aim for that, but everything's a lot vaguer these days.
I mean, this is all, in the words of George Harrison, all things must pass. At some point, we're going to be out, and I'm going to be buying you a yellow cider.
Yeah.
Red ones. Yellow, isn't it? Your favorite one?
It depends. I try to stage it. So I start off on green, then go yellow, then go red. Keep track of how many drinks I've had.
B, check what time it is at the club before you buy him a drink.
Check what color the bottle I'm currently holding is.
Check what color his eyes are. They're red.
No, that doesn't help. I have tiny eyes. That will not get you anywhere.
Check with Mags to see what color drink he needs, because Mags will know. Mags always knows.
When someone has you dead to rights.
Yeah. I know. Get him a cider. Okay, this is probably the longest one. Traditionally.
Well.
Tell me about your favorite game.
Right. So I was kind of in two minds about this because the obvious answer is Infinity.
Yes.
But I feel that every other episode we have someone who primarily plays Infinity on.
Just seem to have had like a lot of Infinity play. I mean, it's very well represented at the club. Yeah.
It is. I think it's safe to say at this point that on any given club night, there's probably more Infinity played than any other game, like individually.
There's only one other game that's played more than Infinity, and that's Gear.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
The universal game.
We can all.
Yeah, so like it would be easy for me to just say Infinity, and then like you'd ask what makes Infinity so good, and then I'd be saying basically the same thing that everyone else was saying.
It's always your turn.
Yeah. So it's like, Infinity is the game I play the most these days because it's very cinematic. It is engaging tactically in a way that very few other war games have managed to be. Yeah. And importantly for me, it is one of the few games out there that manages to merge narrative and mechanics really well.
Yeah.
Because you see it, or at least I would find quite often when I was playing, the easy go-to is always 40K.
Yeah.
That the narrative would hype up units like crazy. So they tell you like a single Space Marine is strong enough to single-handedly kill 10 normal men, and you'd go, yeah. So one Space Marine against 10 Guardsmen. How's that gonna go? Not fast. That's one thing. You're lucky if that fight ends within 2 or 3 turns.
I've had units of Marines charged by Guardsmen. Yeah.
Yeah. So
charging 10 Marines, it didn't go very well for me.
No. But so like, and that creates kind of a disconnect. It was like a narrative mechanical disconnect where you have expectations based on the lore that aren't fulfilled in the game. Like a unit doesn't play the way you think it should. And Infinity, what they've really nailed is that if you read the narrative about a unit, if you have an idea of what this unit is supposed to be doing, that is how it plays.
Yeah.
So it makes it really easy to kind of connect immediately with the fluff and to become invested in the action. And the fact that the games are really short and have an emphasis on aggressive, proactive play also means that you are more likely to get heavily invested in every single action that takes place.
Yeah.
And it's the reason why I can stand to play it competitively.
Yeah.
Because even when you're playing a competitive game, there is still that narrative there. Even if both of you are, like, you and your opponent are just hell-bent, the only thing you're really focused on in the moment is winning.
Yeah.
it still creates that sense of narrative, that sense of tension. So Infinity is an easy one to go for. But instead, now that I've
back, because that would have taken a long time.
yeah. So now instead of that, I'll shine a spotlight on another game that I really quite enjoy, and I haven't had a chance to play it as much recently. But it's another sci-fi skirmish game called This Is Not a Test.
Yes, that was a thing at the club for a while.
Yeah, when it was released, I ran a pretty short-lived campaign of it. Very loose, like no real structure to it. Yeah, just trying it out. It's like Frostgrave. It's completely model agnostic.
Yeah.
And so you can pretty much do whatever you want with it. It has a really good activation system to it. In that rather than having you go, I go, you move all of your models, and then I move all of my models, it has a system where you have to activate each model individually and roll a die to do it. If you pass the activation roll, you get to move that model twice.
Yeah.
And then it's done. If you fail that roll, the model only gets to perform one action, and then turn order passes to your opponent.
Ah, okay.
And then you keep doing this until all models are activated, and then a new turn starts. So what that ends up being is that if you fail your activation roll, it's not the end of the world, but it's obviously not good. So you would have had a plan already for what you wanted to do, and then all of a sudden you find out that that's not going to happen. You're only going to be able to do half of what you wanted to do, and then you know your opponent's going to get to take their moves.
So it's like Blood Bowl.
Well, so
but not quite.
I'm not a huge fan of Blood Bowl. In that in Blood Bowl, a failed roll literally means you no longer get to play the game.
Yeah.
Which I personally don't think is very fun. This Is Not a Test is sort of a happy medium where a failed roll doesn't mean you don't get to play anymore. It means that you now know you have this much time until your opponent gets to take control.
Mm-hmm.
But even if your opponent passes all their dice rolls, you will eventually still get to play your turn. Yeah. And the interesting part of this is that you can end up in situations that have happened to me where you pass every single activation roll. And you might think, well, that's great. That means you're in control for the entire first half of the turn.
Yeah.
But in reality, what it might end up happening is that you end up having to extend all of your troops upfield.
Yeah.
And your opponent's not getting any closer to you. And you know that eventually your opponent is just going to be able to react to everything you've just done, and you can't stop them. So you end up in a situation where you actually want to fail, because you go, and now I would really like for you to move your troops. And then that's not happening. And so you end up in a situation where being good is bad. Yeah. And that's another interesting little twist on gaming that spices things up a bit, makes it a little bit interesting.
I like tension. Is it the right sort of
Yeah.
The moment we're like, oh, do I want to or do I not want to? You have to just take a minute just to think about what you want. When it's just obvious what's the best thing to do, it's not.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm the great general who's thinking. It's just like, when you have to think and go, now what am I going to do here?
Yeah, exactly.
Just going like, I enjoy that aspect of gaming. So
yeah,
that sounds good.
This is not a test. Really good game. Really interesting rule set. Has probably the best warband creation system that I've ever encountered in a game. If you like kind of narrative skirmish games, sci-fi skirmish games, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, for sure. JB.
Andy.
What game do you fancy playing in the future?
So I mentioned Age of Sigmar already. Haven't played it yet bought in, and I got half of my Flesh Eater Quartz models from Neil's Loft.
Oh.
Yeah, the famous boutique. Hey Neil. The famous boutique known as Neil's Loft.
Yeah.
and the rest just stuff I picked up here and there. I'd really like to give Age of Sigmar a go. I've heard nothing bad about it, so yeah, it seems like a good time. I would really like to play Changeling at some point, when I can work up the courage to actually run it. What else would I really like to run? Looking over at my shelf to see if there are any other games that just jump out at me as like, you should be playing this more.
It could be games that you don't own that you've seen coming up, or
No, not really. Like miniature games wise, I feel like I'm kind of good right now. I remember you mentioned this in a conversation we had down at the club, where you pared down the amount of games you were playing because you only have realistically so much time in a month to play games. And if you go to the club, say twice a week, then that means that you get 8 nights at the club every month.
8 chances to play a month.
Exactly. And so if you're playing, say, 8 different games and you're realistically only playing each game once a month, and that's going to make it difficult to improve in any way. And if people are playing more than you, then they are naturally just going to get better than you. And you're going to keep falling behind. And you're going to have to quickly adopt the philosophy of, I don't care if I lose. I think losing is as much fun as winning.
You can play 8 times a month and still have to adopt that.
Yeah. But like that is a valid philosophy to have. But I just don't like to see the light in your eyes die as you tell me that. I want you to genuinely believe that. And sometimes that might mean that you need to play a game more often, and then maybe be honest with yourself of like, what games do I really play? And what do I really enjoy playing?
I was playing Dracula's America with Neil.
Yeah.
Really love the idea of cowboy vampires. But it seemed like every time we played, I was relearning the rules because we were fitting it around other things. And I think it's a really good world and a really good game, but I just wasn't playing it enough to really get the hang of it.
Yeah.
Because there are other things that I wanted to. It's the concept is called, I think it's called hobby saturation or something. It's like, you choose the things you want to play, and it's fine to buy games because you just want to read the rules. Or it's fine to buy a game and I'm going to play this for 6 months.
Yeah.
Game, you kind of accept there's going to be a new edition of it coming around the corner. Of whatever it might be. I'm sure that everyone must be aware that 9th edition has just dropped, or is going just about to drop for 40k. I don't for any minute imagine there's not going to be a 10th edition.
Oh no. It's going to keep going.
Yeah. But you accept that and it's fine. So it's fine to read and enjoy, and if you're happy to play it once or twice, that's fine. But I think you just need to be honest to yourself. If you're going to go, this is going to be the new sci-fi skirmish game that I'm going to play, and you're playing Infinity, is it better or worse than Infinity? And what's the reason why? Because if it's not as good as Infinity, why don't you just play Infinity?
Yeah, and that was the reason why, like, I could never get into Kill Team, for example. Was like Kill Team came out and it was sold as kind of it's a quick, intense sci-fi skirmish game.
Yep.
And I'd go, yeah, but I'm already playing one of those.
Yeah.
So like the only selling point really was, well, now you get to use watered down 40k rules and you can use your 40k models. And I'm like, but if I'm going to use my 40k models, I'll just play 40k.
Yeah.
So again, I'm sure there are plenty of people who, they enjoy those games for their own reasons. But for me in my life, it doesn't work for me. But on the topic of like having systems just to have them, comment below if you own role-playing books for systems you have never played and have no intention of ever playing.
I'm going to look over towards my hallway where I know I've got at least 3 games that I have never run.
Be real, though. How many books do you own?
Yeah. Because inspiration, man. It's all inspiration, you know.
Yeah. I'm not judging. I'm just saying.
So for Kill Team, for example, I have some orcs that I painted up. That was a nice little fun little project. Paint out 10 orcs. Painted some orcs. I kit bashed some Necrons. I've got some Death Guard models. And what was really good was, as I don't play 40k anymore, but I have dedicated, 30 years of my life to it. So I know all the history, know the background, like the forces, but I don't want to collect a whole army. 10 models.
No. Yeah.
And it's done. And I probably guarantee you that if I did, once I finally play Infinity, I'll go, oh, this is a much better system than Kill Team. Because I'm already playing Kill Team and going, this could be improved.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. I enjoy it because it's quick and I haven't got to think too hard about it. And it's a good game. I do enjoy it. But it scratches a different itch. So I could see there's reasons. But it's a personal choice that you make about what games you play. But I think it's best to be realistic with yourself about how much time you're actually going to have to dedicate to any one game.
Exactly. And that's ultimately where it comes down to. And again, that comes down to your personal preference and what you want and what you like in games. Like, there are just going to be some games that do it for you more than others.
Yeah.
And if those are the games that you enjoy playing, then hey, I'm sorry to break it to you. We got a limited time on this planet. Just play the games you like.
Yeah. And be aware that you need someone to play with as well.
So I've been told, but yeah.
Just make sure. My advice is before you go and buy your 100 Years War army, make sure that someone else wants to play 100 Years War in 3 mil.
Yeah, or be really, really good at selling that concept.
That also works.
Yeah, like that's a genuinely good piece of advice. Like, the reason why Infinity has taken off at the club ultimately was that many moons ago, we just started playing it because we wanted to play it.
Yeah.
And then no one else played it, but enough people saw, like, Aiden and I playing it and went, oh, what's that game you're playing? It seems like it's fun.
Yeah.
If there's a game you want to try, find one other person who's interested in it.
You know what's a really good advertisement for a game?
Seeing it played.
Yeah, exactly. Seeing people playing it and having fun, and you go,
Yeah.
And then you think, oh, that's actually looks pretty good. That
Yeah.
sounds quite interesting. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I actually feel we could talk about this topic for another half hour.
We easily could, but
Then
should we?
Well, people might enjoy listening to us talk about it, and this is what it's about.
Yeah.
Grinding through the questions, but yeah, I think definitely that's good advice.
Yeah.
This one's a bit of a tough question, JB.
Sure. Go for it.
What's your favorite club memory?
Ooh. What's the meme? There have been so many. How can you pick only one?
Yeah.
Well, it's true though. It's hard to pick just one. I think, though, one that I think was really fun to do, and this is like a long-term one, was the build-up to Monkfest.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. For those not in the know, when our dear friend Monk, hi Monk, hope Miss Rona is treating you well. When he was having his birthday, we all started organizing in secret to surprise him with a big birthday celebration, a doubles event at Warhammer World. And because Monk is a big fan of the Alpha Legion, we figured that we could orchestrate a conspiracy that would be just subtle enough that he would notice something was up, but probably not figure out exactly what was up.
Yeah.
And this, we had like an entire fucking separate group on Facebook that was hidden where we all conspired together and figured out what we were going to do. We came up with code phrases. Dave Wilkins, hi Dave.
Hi Dave.
Came up with a genius hand gesture we would use, which was this. that we would sign off with to signify make the conspiracy very obvious. And this all culminated in a night at the club where we had essentially a bunch of riddles that would lead Monk to different people at the club. So each riddle would be descriptive of the person who had the next riddle. And eventually he would find a ticket to the doubles event hidden somewhere in the club. And that evening was great. But the setup, probably one of the funniest moments I've had at the club, was an event before that when we first tried planting the idea of the conspiracy in Monk's head. Where we've been so careful to be subtle and found that nothing we were doing was landing. We wore little Hydra badges, completely flew over his head. We kept using very coded language in a very obvious way, didn't notice. We kept using the hand gesture, didn't pick up on it. And so finally, when I was leaving the club for the evening, I told Toby, look, we need to make something happen here. So Monk's over by that table. Walk over with me to the door, and we'll have a very loud conversation in very coded language, and keep using a hand gesture in his eye line, and eventually he'll pick up on what we're doing. And we did that, and kept looking over our shoulders at Monk, who was looking at us, but not really paying attention.
He's a trusting soul.
He is a trusting soul, bless him. And then eventually, I think he sussed out that something was up, but he couldn't quite figure it out. And then, that entire process of conspiring against our friend was a lot of fun.
That's good fun.
Yeah.
All in best intentions.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a lot of fun. And that doubles event was fun as well. I'm trying to remember. I think that was the event where Toby and Sasha won. I think.
Yes, the chaos.
I think that was the one.
They won the event and got best sportsman, which
is something like that. Yeah, which was really cool considering they were running just absolute nonsense. So yeah, that was a really good memory. But there's so many, but that's one that stands out to me as being like that entire thing was a lot of fun to plan.
Excellent. So on that bombshell, we are going to cut this section and have a break and come back for the big four that people need to know the answer to. Are you ready, JP?
I was born ready.
You should do some stretches. Let's get ready. Well, it's true. I couldn't believe it, but JB just told me the secrets of the universe in that short break. Parsley. Interesting. So we've got the big four questions, which everyone's dying to hear. I'm sure you're aware of them. So let's get this kicked off with the first one.
Yes.
What is your favourite paint, and why is it Nuln Oil?
I have been looking forward to this question probably more than any other question on the list.
Do you have shares in Nuln Oil?
Huh?
You have shares in Nuln Oil?
No, I'm here to piss in everyone's cornflakes and say, I don't really get the hype behind Nuln Oil. I bought one pot of it ages ago, barely used it. You know what's better? Drakenhof Nightshade.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If I need to darken something down a little bit, I would rather give it like a slightly bluish tint, an indigo tint. I think that's quite nice. Yeah. So yeah, Drakenhof Nightshade, I run it up constantly.
Yeah.
Nuln Oil, barely reuse it.
Oh.
So yeah, I guess I'll go for Drakenhof Nightshade. That's easily the paint I have in all my schemes.
I use a lot of Nuln Oil myself on different things, but I would not use Nuln Oil if I'm painting yellow. I'd use sepia. It's about the color choices and the washes to go with those color choices. For grimy metal, I tend to use Nuln Oil, but
yeah. See, I tend to go for when I want to wash metal, I tend to go for Drakenhof Nightshade because I like the shade you get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it. Whenever I use Nuln Oil, it comes off a little bit too grimy. a little bit brownish, and I prefer the shade you get off of it with Drakenhof. I also really like using, whenever I have to paint black or a really dark gray, I like starting at like a fairly dark gray and then washing it down with Drakenhof as well.
Yeah.
Because I find it just comes off smoother and a little bit nicer than non-oil does.
If I'm highlighting black, I actually don't use the white. I use a dark sort of military blue.
Yeah.
It's getting that chalky. You can get a chalky effect with just pure white. So, you know,
yeah,
I appreciate the choice of using a blue shade instead of black.
Yeah. So that's me shitting on non-oil. Don't believe the hype.
Don't believe the hype, kids.
Don't believe the hype, kids. Non-oil.
You can live a perfectly, normal life without ever having any non-oil. It's fine. We didn't know it for years. It's not like it's I've forgotten what one it is now. What was the one that was the brown wash before that everyone loved?
Agrax Earthshade.
No, the one before that.
What was it called before that? God, I cannot remember.
Below, there's the one that was like the.
If you have an old brown wash, let us know in the comments.
JB.
Yes.
What's your favorite dice?
I quite like a D10.
Oh.
I quite like I probably have rolled more D10s than any other dice in my life. Because role playing wise, I was always more of a White Wolf kid, so rolling lots of D10s.
Yeah.
And while I like D20s for gaming, because I like the granularity of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think D10s are just. I like the shape of a D10. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so reassuring about a D10.
Yeah.
It gives you more options than a D6, but it's not as swinging as a D20.
Yeah.
And you percentiles, you got two of them. The whole world of percentiles open to you.
Yeah. And it's still sharp enough that if you throw it on the floor when you're being chased by someone, it'll hurt their feet.
At their feet, absolutely. Yeah. Devil in Mud. I remembered it now. I didn't try to remember what it was called.
Yeah.
That was the best wash they ever did, but
Yeah. If you have Devil in Mud.
How good Devil in Mud is me remembering it. And half of it is actually how good it was.
If you have Devil in Mud, let us know in the comments.
Comments below, exactly. This one's very important, JB. Given the current economic situation in the globe, and the global pandemic that we all are currently going through, with boomers are getting older and millennials in the situation they've been placed with the internet and the structure it provides, I have to ask you, bards, yay or nay?
Yeah, I like a bard. In fact, I think one of my favorite role-playing memories was from playing a bard, where it was in a Swedish game system called Eon, which is awful. It's really awful. It is very Swedish in all the worst ways. Like if you like spreadsheets, oh boy. If you like spreadsheets,
role-playing game.
If you like spreadsheets and one round of combat taking about 15 to 20 minutes to play through, oh boy, do I have a game for you. But yeah, in a game of Eon, I played a bard and proved why, no matter how much the deck may be stacked against you, if you got the gift of the gab and your charisma is high enough, you can talk your way out of anything.
Like life.
Yeah, exactly. Like life. No, I mean, I think bards are interesting. I think bards are definitely more interesting than paladins, for example.
Yeah.
So I would rather have a bard on the team than a paladin, and they're both kind of hybrid classes. So yeah, bards are good. They're good, man.
The point of a paladin is to be annoying. That's the whole reason they're there. Is like, because guys go like, okay, we'll break into the castle, steal the gem, we'll be on our way, one session, done. And the paladin goes, no, we're not stealing anything, we're not going to rob anything. And you're like, Or you're walking along and you see someone sick by the side of the road, and the paladin goes, "We best take it back to the village and get them healed." I'm like, "We're on a mission. What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, I'm a paladin, so I'm going to care for this sickly." It's like just there to make it more awkward for everyone.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, paladins tend to slow down any adventure they're part of, and as a GM, as soon as somebody goes, "I want to play a paladin," you secretly die a small death. Going, well, any plans I had for this adventure to be interesting is now probably shuttered. So yeah, but bards, I don't know, like they kind of fill any gap in a group. That's what I like them for. Are you being invaded again?
Okay.
I got another visitor. Thanks, William. Thanks for opening that door. But could you I shouldn't have to work under these conditions. JB.
Andy.
A question for you.
Go for it.
Mimics.
Just mimics question mark. I'm kind of torn on mimics. I think that mimics are fine. I think they're broadly fine. I think the idea of a mimic is kind of cool, but yeah, it's kind of easy for them to be used kind of as a lazy way of boosting difficulty or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if set up properly, I think they can be quite interesting. But like with anything, they're like,
it's a tool that can be used.
Yeah. It's a tool that can be used. I think, unfortunately, a lot when you see them, they're just kind of there, and there's no reason for them to be there, and they're just a bit.
Surprise!
Yeah. Oh, look, it's the mimic. Way, and that's kind of pointless. But I think if you can weave it into an actual story where it makes sense, I think it can be quite interesting.
Yeah.
But I think mimics are only as good as the threat they protect. So if you know there might be a mimic, that in and of itself is a little bit more terrifying than the actual thing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if your mimic could be replaced by just having a chest be trapped or whatever, then why is the mimic there? So yeah, they need a purpose.
Him sets up so you know that somewhere in this building is a mimic, and you don't know which object it is, but then you have to go and do something in there. Then you can roll a dice.
You're
okay.
The narrative tension is the importance of it. I find that the narrative purpose of a mimic is far more important than the mimic itself. So
this quote to put on a T-shirt, if ever I heard one.
Sure, it wouldn't be any less funny than any other joke T-shirts. So,
so yeah, that's our 4 questions. Thank you for asking us. We have one extra question was asked by Rick, who was our guest last time.
Yeah. Hi, Rick.
Hi, Rick. He asked, what's your favorite character that you have played? That could be a character created for a game, a tabletop game, or it could be for role playing.
Ooh. I think my favorite, this is going to be story time, because it's definitely going to be role playing. Some people have definitely heard this story before, but it was back in my teen years when we were playing previously mentioned awful role-playing game Eon. And it was a campaign that was being run by a guy who charitably was not very creative. And the players, we were kind of, more than anything else, the campaign, it had sort of a plot, but more than anything else, it was the players recognizing that it wasn't very good and just kind of taking the piss throughout the entire thing. And I played a character who was basically a cult member. And I had discussed with the GM ahead of time that my character's goals would be in direct conflict with the group's goals. So
Yeah.
they were all set out to save the world or whatever. And my character's goals was to kidnap a member of royalty and then forcibly convert them, take them back to be forcibly converted into the cult so that when they eventually ascended to the throne, the cult would have like a puppet ruler. And that this was going to be like played really, really secret. The rest of the team weren't going to know that this was going on. And we would have some fun tension built to this. And so throughout the entire campaign, my character would kind of covertly engage in very shady dealings. But it was never expressly stated what it was, just that something was up. And the rest of the group was kind of like, well, I mean, he's a priest or something. I don't know what he's doing. It's probably not important. Let's not worry about it. And we go through the entire campaign, and eventually what it all boils down to is that a Dark Lord wants a magic book, and we have the magic book.
Yeah.
And come face to face with the Dark Lord, who has the royal family at his mercy. And we all wander in there, and the Dark Lord demands that we hand over the book, which at this point is hidden on one of the party members. And I go, don't worry, guys. I am the most talky of all of us. I'll negotiate with him, and I'll sort this out. And everyone's like, well, yeah, that'll probably work out, because he is the one who is the best at talking.
Yeah.
So I tell the Dark Lord, I will negotiate with you in private, and I'll work something out. Because I'm pretty sure we can reach a mutually beneficial goal.
Mm-hmm.
And he agrees as long as everyone's disarmed. Like, cool, yeah, don't worry about it, guys. Don't worry about it. They'll take your weapons. You'll be fine. Walk into a separate room, and I go, I'll give you the book for the princess there.
Yeah.
And everyone in the entire group goes, wait, what? What? What's the play here? And the game master is also kind of, but why are you doing this? And I'm like, because this was my goal all along. We agreed to this months ago. Book for the princess, done. And the game master is kind of, well, yeah, there's no reason for the villain to say no to this, so I guess, sure. I guess my campaign is ruined, but yeah, I guess that's fine. And we come back out, my betrayal was revealed, and then the game master just has like a prince run in with a magic sword and literally just kill every villain as an attempt to salvage the entire campaign. At which point I go, is there a window here? And he goes, yeah, there are plenty of windows. It's like, so if I jump out a window, there's a stat in this game for luck. And I go, if I jump out this window and pass a luck check, could I survive? And he goes, yeah, sure, whatever. And I go, cool, I'll grab the princess and jump out a window. And I ace the luck check and get away. And that's how the campaign ended. It was like, yeah, you vanquished the Dark Lord, but I did also run away. And yeah. And so then after that, the campaign was extended, and I took over as storyteller, and my character now became the new villain because everyone wanted to continue because they wanted to kill my character.
Of course they do.
Yeah. And so that is probably my favorite character that I've created, purely because of that, because it's the longest con I've ever run in a role-playing game. And I think there's something to be said if a player character can end up becoming the villain. I don't know. I quite like that. It's the only time that's happened in any role-playing game I've played, so I have a fondness for that.
Definitely. That's a cool story, man.
Yeah. Sorry. Story time. But yeah, that's how I ruined the trust. I betrayed the trust of several of my friends.
Can't meet your friends ever again.
Yeah.
That's cool. No, I think we all have favorite characters we've played, so I'm sure a lot of role players out there can relate to a big payoff at the end of a long campaign.
Yeah. It was an interesting one. It's kind of fueled my. I really like role playing games where there's more role playing than dice rolling, so to speak, and that really felt like nailing that. So I quite enjoyed that. That was a really fun. In spite of everything, it was a fun game to play.
So the last question I've got for you, JB. What's your question for our next interviewee, next victim?
Ooh, so I'm mulling this one over. And how do I phrase this the right way? Actually, no. Instead of what I was going to ask, let's go for a slight version of the Bard one. What's the point of druids?
What is the point of druids? We've all asked ourselves this, haven't we? That's the point of druids. Out of curiosity, what was the other question?
No, the other question was going to be something like other role-playing game thing tied in with paladins, but it was too convoluted. No, it was basically just another attempt at shitting on paladins, which I mean,
we've done already.
They deserve. But instead, I think I figured, what is the point of druids? Why do druids?
Why
druids?
Why?
Yeah.
So, we'll ask the next person that question. JB, thank you so much for joining me today for Hatecast. Is there anything we have not talked about today that you wanted to talk about?
Well, as we sit here in the day of our Lord, the 28th, right?
Yeah, I guess it is, actually, yeah.
I'll check it now because this is important. This needs to be documented. Let me just check. Yeah, the 28th, Friday the 28th of May. We are on the eve of crowning a new drag superstar in RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh my goodness! So, well, we talked about this with Mira earlier on an earlier episode. She is very much into RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah. I've been following her for a while, and this season has been interesting for a multitude of reasons. But I'm very excited that we are the thing I called as a joke about a month ago, the live Zoom finale from our living rooms. Now it looks like it's going to be a thing. So, yeah. And by the time this episode comes out, this will be kind of irrelevant because this will have happened weeks ago. But so going into the finale and knowing what we know now, spoilers for anyone not watching for a show that ended about a month ago. Who do you think should win this season? Yeah.
I mean, I think it should be Jada.
I agree.
Yeah.
I also think that in an ideal world, Jada should win this.
She's completely been overlooked.
Yeah, which is absurd. It's absolutely absurd. She, like, her quick drag is absolutely astounding. Like the amount of like polish she has just in like 15 minutes to get ready is just ridiculous.
She's really good and really funny as well.
Really funny, really well rounded, really professional. Yeah, I just love her. And who do you think should be Miss Congeniality?
It's between, for me, you got Heidi or Jackie. And I think because Jackie, God bless her, I felt like she was constantly like bearing her soul, like just like very open, honest, like just really sharing. But Heidi was brilliant as well. It's like Heidi was really enjoyable in a really fun, honest way, and Jackie was a lot more, like I said, like just very vulnerable and sharing of. And I feel like Miss Congeniality is like a combination of those two, and I'd be happy with either of them, I think.
Yeah, I'm Heidi all the way. But like I've been open with, I loved Heidi from the second she stepped into the workroom. Wearing pink and black tiger print instead of she was wearing leprosy print. from that moment on, it was like she could do nothing to sway me otherwise. Like I was in love from that moment on. So yeah, if she can't be in the finale, then Congeniality is gonna be good enough.
I do really feel for this year, there's not going to be. I look forward to that big show, and to have been in the year that you're in the final, and you don't get to have that big show.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, but you know,
they're not retrospectively going to go and do a big show for this.
No, well, the upsides are they'll probably still be fine. They've gotten the exposure from it, and they're going to be part in a complete mess. And I'm, for one, am looking forward to seeing the complete mess.
There's something special. I mean, yeah, it's the only one during like lockdowns ever going to be done. Well, hopefully this is going to be over by next season, whenever that is.
We're going to get to see 3 people lip syncing from their living rooms.
So you think Jada should win?
I think Jada should win.
Who do you think is, I guess, obviously in RuPaul's Drag Race, we both know who should win and who actually wins are quite often never the twain meet.
I think so. I think all 3 queens in the top are really good. Like this season overall has had a lot of talent. Like astounding levels of talent.
Yeah.
So any one of the top 3 could feasibly win, and I don't think it would be like upset. Really, there's not going to be a case of like, why is this person here?
Yeah.
But the person I'm least invested in is probably Gigi.
Yeah.
And that's just me.
For me, it's Crystal. I don't really get Crystal. I don't like her style of makeup.
Crystal, she's adorable. I realize I'm biased because again, I fell in love with Crystal immediately. But yeah, like either one of them wins. Like it's a strong top 3. I'm fine with either of them winning. Prefer Jada. If Crystal wins, it'll I'll be happy for her. I think Gigi wins, I'll be happy for her. But heart of hearts, Team Jada all the way.
Yeah, but that's something we can both agree on.
Yeah. So
probably disappointed.
Well, I mean,
I think Gigi's going to win, but I could see Crystal winning as well, because I do like to sometimes rock the boat by going for someone who's a bit more avant-garde, a bit more different than was expected. I
mean, we'll see. Ultimately, I mean, by the time this comes out, we will have known. So comment below if you agreed with who won RuPaul's Drag Race.
Share your thoughts. It's fine.
Yeah, share your thoughts. This is a game. So this is a gaming club after all.
Yeah.
So thank you for tuning into this gaming podcast, video cast.
The RuPaul section of the game.
Where we also discussed RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes, we'll just have to really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. As you know, as problematic as RuPaul often is.
It's been a really strong season. Been a strong season, but I felt less invested in this one for some reason. I don't know why it hasn't been. But
I have an idea, but my mother frequently told me when I was young to if you got nothing nice to say about someone, don't say anything. So I won't say anything about the reason why it might feel weird.
Yes. And on that bombshell, JB, thank you once again. If anyone's down the club and they want to say hello to you and buy you a cider, I'm sure you'll be happy.
Yeah, I won't stop you. And anyone interested in learning how to play Infinity, because it is a game that gets, I think, it has an unfair reputation for being a incredibly complicated game.
If you've got a real understanding of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, that's a really good place to start, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Algebra, so on.
It honestly isn't any more complicated than any other war game out there. If you want to learn how to play it, hit me up. I'm happy to teach you.
I'm learning from you when we get back from lockdown.
Yeah, which hopefully won't be too soon, or it won't be too long. Right? Yeah. All right.
Well, we could chat all day.
We could, and we pretty much have.
Do, but we've got to let these good people get back to whatever they're up to. So thank you again for joining us for this Hatecast. Hopefully see you for the next one. JB, thank you so much.
Thank you. See you soon, bud.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Stay safe.